Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. There are zero spoilers for Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves in this content. Let's go. So I want to talk about comedy in Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. So one of the things that has disappointed me, there's a ton of good reviews for this movie, and actually the vast majority of it has a 94% crowd rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 91% critical rating on Rotten Tomatoes. This is objectively a good film, right? It's just a phenomenal film, right? But there's a lot of lazy reviews of it, and one of the laziest I've been hearing is, oh, it's just like Guardians of the Galaxy. And people will talk about the comedy. They're like, action and comedy, that equals Guardians of the Galaxy. So, one, I think that's extremely lazy movie reviewing, and I don't really think this movie is anything like Guardians of the Galaxy. And one of the reasons why is, it is my opinion that that this film is a American blockbuster attempt, which contains pretty deep discussion of STAP, which is science, theology, politics, and philosophy. It's a very deep film, and I think we're literally going to be unpacking this film for like a century. There's a lot here. It's a truly deep film, right? But granted, there is a ton of comedy, and I mean a lot, right? Like, and people have been talking about it, and they're like, oh, there's all this comedy, and why do we need all this comedy? People have been complaining about Marvel for a long time, and it's a valid. This is a valid complaint, right? So I want to talk about it and explain to you why American blockbuster attempts, all movies are American blockbuster attempts, unless you get $1 billion. You're a legit blockbuster if you make $1 billion today. If you make less than that, you're some scrub DC movie, right? So let's get into it, okay? So first of all, the world has changed. The world has just massively changed. There are just different rules now, right? So one of the things is, like, we don't really print I was just hearing one of the Greens brothers who wrote like Paper Towns and a whole bunch of books that were very good books, but many of his books are turned into, I think it's Hank Green, many of his books are turned into films, and he was lamenting the death of the paperback, right? And the paperback is dying, right? Like they're like, so here's where we're landing, right? Like, print is dying, right? But print, actually, it's not correct that print is dying. Print is transforming, okay? And let me explain something to you. Only the most intelligent people in the world are going to be buying print soon, right? And what is it going to be used for? It's going to be used for our most important texts, which are sacred text, comic books, and tabletop role-playing games, and textbooks. That's it. That's all it's going to get left that's going to be printed. It's all going to be big. The books are always going to be huge. And they're always going to be, full of color and print and art, and like, cause and even the sacred text, I think it'll be, beautiful illustrated versions, right? And so we're getting rid of so things are changing, right? And so we don't print black and white. We don't print a black and white novel anymore, right? Like just words on a page. There's no point in it, right? Just buy a Kindle. Come on, right? And so there just isn't a point to printing novels anymore, right? Well, guess what? There ain't a point to making a movie if it ain't an American blockbuster. Pack it up, shove that crap over onto some streamer, right? But if it's going into an American theater, it needs to be an American blockbuster, right? It needs to make $1 billion plus, right? So once you get there, right? If people are going to see a movie on the big screen, on the silver screen, right, it's got to make them feel something, right? Now, humans feel something in two primary ways. And if you're going to do a blockbuster, this has got to reach out to everybody, right? Well, there are blockbusters that are sad. You want to hear one of them? The Passion of the Christ made over $1 billion, right? Titanic made over $2 billion, right? It's huge. It's a lot of money. Those are about the only two blockbusters in the world that can make it on sad. Every other blockbuster has to make it on funny. Because the reality is, every screenwriter worth their salt will tell you the same. They say you put truth on screen. You put truth on screen, you put truth on screen, right? It's got to resonate as truth, right? And when people see truth, they either laugh or cry, right? So the path to a $1 billion blockbuster. Oh, you want to know another very sad American blockbuster? Joker, made over $1 billion. Incredibly sad film. Nothing funny in that, I can tell you that, right? Everything else, right? And there's 20 to 50 different movies that have made $1 billion plus, right? There's not a ton, but it's about 20 to 50. And the reality is the path is laughter, right? So Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves is it has what's called, and this is the point, right? First of all, if you're not going for a blockbuster, don't even think about putting your movie on. Don't think about putting your movie in a real theater, right? Like, only American blockbusters are left, right? Like, we're not printing paperback novels anymore. It's stupid. Nobody needs them, right? It's done, right? Same thing here. You want to tell some sad sack story about some dude getting a divorce, or some story about somebody suffered XYZ, whatever, and there's no lasers and no glowing swords. Forget it. You could shove that crap over to some streamer somewhere. It's not a real movie, right? Like, so it's American blockbuster or nothing on the big screen. And if you go American blockbuster, you got two paths. You got sad or funny, right? And so what you see in Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves is the new template for American film, right? And it's called comedy carry. That's my term, okay? Comedy carry. Americans have to be carried through these films by sorrow or humor, right? By sorrow or silly, right? They have to be led hand by hand to the entertainment at the blockbuster level, right? There's a few people, you and me, we're charismatic, we're confident, we're intelligent, right? We don't need a laugh every 5 minutes, right? But the American public does, right? The American commoner does. And this is comedy carry, right? And it is used incredibly effectively by Daly and Goldstein in Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. And I think and Marvel did this for 10 years, right? But I think comedy carry is perfected by Daly and Goldstein in Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. And so that's why the film is absolutely packed with jokes. It's an incredibly meaningful, deep film. It has very realistic, very important discussions in it about science, theology, politics, and philosophy. And you should pay attention to it, right? But I just wanted to acknowledge it is true. The movie is packed with jokes. But there's a reason for it. It's not done because they don't know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing, right? Hollywood understands this. We live in a hard world. And when you put truth in front of people, they will laugh or cry. And by far the easiest path to an American blockbuster is laughter. Crying is very, very difficult. It's like 1 in 100 films that try that are able to do it. So that's the reason that Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves is absolutely packed from bristle to bruckle with comedy. It's comedy carry. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. I'd love to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic, please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.